and bacon, or whatever that place in the food court is. Eggs and things. Eggs and chicken. Eggs and chicken. That seems kind of weird, doesn't it? The chickens. Are the chickens given a choice? Like, well, you can either give something, or we can use you to eat. The chickens are like, what if I'm not ovulating? Well, then it looks like you're the main course. All right, I think we're ready to start. Everyone's kind of filled in, yay. Sorry they kept changing it on you. You kept growing and multiplying. So, like gremlins, somebody got you wet. Ooh, that didn't sound good.
Well, the temperature did
Not
rise.
18 and up, not 18 and up panel. What?
The temperature did quite rise in here a bit.
I know, right? Thank you. You're all giving your warmth in here. You're all huddling in from the cold. You don't even know who I am. Like, who's this guy? I don't know, but it's warm. Go. Go. Brr. It's your fault for living in this godforsaken, bleak winter hellscape of a state. I have limited sympathy for all of you. Like, oh, it's so cold. I'm like, yeah, hello. You haven't figured that out yet? You've lived your entire lives. And it's snowing outside. Because I'm from Texas. When it starts snowing, we're like, what is this stuff? It's so pretty. And it hits your hand. We shut down everything. I was in the airport coming back from Wisconsin Dells, which is also very cold, where apparently it gets so cold, it gets too cold to snow. Apparently that's a thing. The snow gets frozen up in the sky. It gets so cold, even the snow is like, screw it, I'm out. I'm out. And they were like telling me this, I'm like, nuh-uh. And on the way back, Dallas, where I was flying to, home, was under a winter advisory, which means we might get half an inch of something like ice. And you should see what happens, like on the local news stations in Dallas when that happens. They always send some poor intern who's dressed like an Eskimo way out in the boonies where the snow's hitting first. She's like, I just saw a snowflake, run for your lives! Oh my God! And I'm like, oh, well, that's Bob. Bob's probably not going to be with us tomorrow, everyone, so Bob's going to die out there in the snow. It's 30 degrees! Right, yeah, I know. You're like, oh my God, what a bunch of pussies, whatever. I know, and we are. Because I'm at the airport waiting to go home, and like, I hope they don't cancel my flights at landing in Dallas because there's going to be half an inch of snow, and the guy behind me was like, oh my God! However will you handle it? Because I'm like looking outside and it's like, oh yeah, there's birds like frozen in mid-flight. Just like an aquarium of dead fish floating. I'm like, what? Why do people live here? Why? I don't understand. Are the summers that nice? So, is it like Texas where it's like, we live here because for 3 weeks it's almost habitable? Okay. Well, in Texas, for the summer, we live like 3 miles from the sun. So everything is like, 180 degrees in the shade! Woo. And it feels like a sauna. Yay. Anyway, hi. What am I doing? It's a Q&A, isn't it? It's a Q&A.
Not.
Huh?
We're not high.
You're not high? Then someone's doing it wrong. No, I'm kidding. I mean, you shouldn't do drugs. You shouldn't. Such in Colorado. We read the same Reddit articles. So yes, everyone, welcome to J. Michael Tatum's Q&A. You know what this is all about, so you know how this works. There's a few rules I have before I start taking questions. Please do not ask me to get on the phone with your sister's cousin's former roommate's boyfriend's dog walker's hairdresser and propose to them as Sebastian or anything like that, because nothing halts a panel like, excuse me, let me just... Yeah, so let's not do that. I want to stay up here on this wonderful dais, it's called. It's a podium. Big word, look it up, D-A-I-S. A big word, like 2 syllables. Anyway, I like to stay up here and I like you guys to stay down here. I feel safe that way. This is a good distance. Let's keep this. Also, you know, if you want to ask me certain questions that people always want to ask, like what's my favorite this, what's my favorite that, I'll always give you the same answer. I'm at my age, I'm not exactly a spring chicken anymore. I'm very suspicious and skeptical of the favorites game, so I don't like playing it, so my answer is always going to be like, I can't choose a favorite, and you'll hate me, so just don't ask. Or you can ask me in a clever way, like what was the most, like, you know, what was your favorite role you ever did while diseased or something like that. Like that's, be clever, and I'll totally answer it. I like that stuff. Which brings me to my next point. If you have seen me answer the question you want to ask on a YouTube video or something like that, you know who you are. You've seen my many YouTube videos, I'm sure. Many of them will be making them today. Please, ask me a new question. I like new stuff. I like to riff on new stuff. That's not to say that I'm going to harangue you if you ask a question I've already been asked before and you just didn't know. But you never know. I do like to bust people's balls. I also sometimes let a curse word or two fly, as you may have already noticed. I do apologize if you have virgin ears. Welcome to, as we said last night, Planet Earth, where we are all adults, and if you're not, you will become one after this panel. So, would you have to keep it relatively family-friendly, because I somehow have a reputation for playing family-friendly characters, which is a lie. Such a lie. You're like, oh my god, my daughter loves you in this show about a demon butler who wants to eat a little boy's soul. That's not going to be on Disney anytime soon. So, without further ado, that's wrong. Without further goodbye, without further ado, let's see a show of hands. Who's got a good question? You get first because I saw you first. How are you doing?
I heard one time you punched a clown. Can you describe the circumstances surrounding that situation?
It is a good question. That is a good question. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Round of applause for the ballsy question in the second row. First of all, let me give you all a little advice. If you have some deep, dark, secret fear, don't tell people. God almighty, I wish to hell I could have gone back 4 years ago and be like, you know what I'm scared of? Cash. I'm terrified of cash. My worst fear is people just coming up to me and throwing wads of unmarked bills all over me. I should have done that instead of telling people that I have coulrophobia, which is the Latin term for I want to beat the shit out of some clowns. I hate clowns. I think they're evil incarnate. I don't want to deal with them, and I don't respond well. I'm getting better. Immersion therapy. Because again, you tell people you're afraid of clowns. I'm like, oh really? I'm sorry to hear that. So I was, many years ago, in a Halloween-themed amusement park where they had like a bunch of haunted houses. You could for one flat fee you could kind of pay to get the piss scared out of you by just hopping from one attraction to the other. And they have like little free-range spooks running around to work for the park that come out behind trees at you and things like that. And I was having a good time. I think that stuff is really fun. I like to be scared within reason. When we're not playing for keepsies, being scared is fun. Like going into because I know ghouls and ghostsies aren't really real, and so I can I'm like, oh, that's really amazing. That's a good scare. Now, when I come out of a haunted house attraction, ready for the next one, and I see two freaking clowns, and I mean horrible, demonic clowns, which are already bad enough. They don't need help looking worse than they already are. Just kind of see me and I react, because I might have been a little inebriated. At the time, alcohol was available at the park, and I drank some because whatever, it was Halloween. I was an adult. And these clowns kept following us. There was like a short fat one and a tall fat one. And they were horrible, like with the huge shoes and like the little frilly pom-pom buttons and the big like hula hoop waists. And like the noses and the rainbow wigs and everything, and like the glitter. It was just all huge gloves. And I ran into them, I'm like, oh my god, and of course I reacted, and they saw that I reacted, so then, oh, well, we know who we're following around for the rest of the evening. Which was a mistake on their part, because I kept like looking at them and like, I'm freaking out. And when I get really freaked out by something, I will either run away, if I can, or I get kind of scary and I start just windmilling. And after about an hour or so of these clowns just following us around the park, I was in line for some lemon ice. I remember my friends were like, you need to sober up right now or you're going to kill somebody. And I'm like, I mean, clowns. Oh my god, they're over there. Like, they would stand back like about 20 feet or so, and they'd just be like,
oh god.
And every time I'd be like, I'm going to be strong about this. I'm not scared of a clown. I'm not scared of a clown. I'm an adult. What's a clown going to do? Oh my god. And so after like just putting up with this for like that part of it, like an hour and a half or something, I'm in line for some lemon ice. And I keep looking back, and I'm getting mad. And I keep warning them, I will mess you up, clown. Ah! And one last time I turned around to see if I could look at the clown. And I did, just as I did. The big tall fat one grabbed a horn on his belt and went, and that was it. I was like, I ran toward him, like full throttle, took him down, clotheslined him, like straddled him and began just beating the piss out of this clown. Because, you know, I warned him. I felt like I warned him. I mean, how many ways can you interpret? I will throttle you to death. Right? I felt like I made my intentions known. He was then at his own peril to honk his freaking horn. And he had it coming. They did kick me out of the park. And I mean, not like kicked me out of the park. Like, I mean, picked me up and dragged me off of the clown. His little fat friend was like, hey, stop it! And I was like, ah! You want a piece of me too? You want a piece of me too, Rainbow? And of course I was a complete jerk about being kicked out of the park. I'm like, oh, bye everybody, I have to go. Apparently this is not a free country anymore. I can't just beat up a clown when I want to beat up a clown. Okay, everyone have fun, happy Halloween! And then my friends were like, we are going to finish walking around the park. You can sit your happy ass out in the parking lot and wait for us. And so this is me like an hour or two later, like sitting on the trunk of the car going, I hate clowns. So that's my clown story, thank you. Another question. You, over there, yes sir, we like you.
What?
You're like, me? Yeah, okay, I take it back, I'm sorry. I didn't be awkward about it.
What's your funniest emergency room story?
Damn, okay. My funniest emergency room story. That's a good one. Okay, it's not my story. I haven't been to the emergency room that often in life. When I was a kid, and it wasn't nothing funny about a child being in the ER. Unless it's because you've got something stuck up your nose, in which case it's hilarious. And you're like, what's up your nose? And it's like a magic trick. What the hell? How does a child have access to so many handkerchiefs? I don't understand.
Offspring of a clown.
And now we know the origin of my clown fear. Horrible birthday party gone awry. It's not my story, but Richard Horowitz, who's here, who plays Zim and Billy and all these other great voices, a dear friend of mine, he was telling us a story about being in an emergency room for, like, kidney stones or something. And if you've ever had a kidney stone, and may you never ever have to have them, they are painful! Before you really know what they are, you're just suddenly like, oh, I'm having a normal day. Oh, God! It does things to your body. So he raced to the emergency room, apparently, one afternoon. And he was waiting in the emergency room behind a lot of people who had much worse emergencies, like bones sticking out of places at weird angles and blood gushing. It's an emergency room. What do you think happens in there? People come in, yes, I have an ingrown toenail. I just don't know what to do with it. No, it's an emergency room. So people are like dying and, you know, and in pain and screaming and bitching and whatever you do in an emergency room. And he's there, like, having a kidney stone and like the most incredible amount of pain you can have without something shoved into you. And they were playing, I think they were playing either Invader Zim or something, where he was hearing his own voice coming from the television screen in the ER waiting room, and he's like, I'm in hell. I'm in hell, because he was waiting to, like, and he was like, and it was a marathon. So I was waiting for like 4 hours, and he kept saying, hey, and he's like, puking into a bucket next to his feet. Like, that would be hell. I don't have a lot of ER stories, though. I don't have a lot of ER stories. I did go to the ER because I had my feet burned really badly. But I couldn't feel them, so the joke was on the guy with a match. I had neuropathy for the longest time. I was born with it, and it has recently reversed. It's a story I'll have to tell you at an 18-up panel, but... yeah, use your imaginations. You're right. And so, but, you know, when you tell people, like, yeah, I can't feel my feet, I've never been able to feel my feet, they're like, oh my God, well, how are you standing up? I'm like, because I can feel my feet, they exist. Well, how do you know, like, what keeps you standing up? I'm like, I don't know, gravity? They're still the right shape and everything, but like you tell people that you can't feel your feet, and they're all like, really? Oh my God, so if I were to stab you or to punch you or in your foot, you wouldn't feel it? I'm like, no, you're still an asshole, but I wouldn't feel it. So I was like, at someone's house, and I had my shoes off, and I think I'd fallen asleep, and I woke up to the smell of my feet burning, because someone was like, candle. Oh my God, he really can't feel his feet, and I'm like, oh, son of a... putting out my foot on the guy's head. We were both in the emergency room together. My feet look awful, and he's got a big black eye. Like, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. But I wasn't a voice actor then, so I couldn't go and like hear my voice. That would be weird, hearing your own voice in an ER. I'm like, I'm gonna die. This is how people die. This is a VH1 behind the music death story. Like, this is, oh my God. Thank you, good question. Let's see, you there, sir, the blue, and yes, we know you, hello.
Can you tell us some of the struggles you went through writing for SteinsGate versus acting in SteinsGate?
Shut up. My little brother's a dick. And he's happy, he's like, shut up, I'll break your other arm. Kidding, I didn't break his arm. He did that all by himself. And, well, not all by himself, there was a ladder. So the challenges of writing Steins. Who here is a fan of SteinsGate? Who here has seen SteinsGate? Oh, awesome. Every time I say that, there's like more and more people that enjoy the show. SteinsGate is, without a doubt, let me plug it for a few moments, because I can talk about SteinsGate for a long time. And because it's I said earlier, like, about me playing the favorites game, it's really hard to do that, because, you know, you play so many characters, you write so many shows, they all become a part of you, and it's hard to pick a favorite. It's like picking a favorite family member. Actually, it's harder than picking a favorite family member, because I can pick a favorite family member very easily, and it's not this guy. SteinsGate was a really incredible show I got to work on as an adaptive writer with Patrick Seitz, who you probably all best know as Germany from Italia. He's also amazing. He's also an incredible writer. My God, he's every bit as wonderful a writer as he's an actor, which is saying something, because I think his acting chops are just so impressive. I'm always intimidated by Patrick, and he's so wonderful and humble, and he's a dear friend. Blah 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 blah. Patrick, love him. So he and I got a chance to work on the adaptive scripts for SteinsGate together, and then later, after we had finished the first 6 episodes, and those get turned in and used for the audition sides, I was then cast as the main character, which is something I will never let happen to myself again, because when you are the lead adaptive writer for a show that you are also then the lead actor in, it's stressful. It's stressful for a lot of reasons, because you feel, you know, on top of all the normal pressures of deadlines and getting the adaptive script right and the dub right, you also feel like, well, I've got no one to scapegoat, because if I am in the booth trying to record and I cannot make this line work, it's because I'm a crap actor or a crap writer. You're like, oh my God, who wrote this goddamn line? Oh, I did, shit. So you can't, you know, it's a lot of pressure. And the show itself, SteinsGate, very briefly, I'll tell you, is really challenging to adapt, because it is, first of all, an enormously intelligent show. There's a lot of very subtle references. It deals with time travel. The plot for, I mean, well, not even the plot, I'll just give you a summary, is basically the show explores what happens when a group of friends discovers how to send text messages back in time. And the whole time travel angle is treated very realistically. In fact, for a sci-fi nerd like myself, it's probably one of the best representations of time travel and how it might in fact be possible and how it might actually work in the real world one day that I've ever seen. So it's a very, very satisfying show for the big hardcore sci-fi nerds like me myself. And but it gets really emotional. Like it's a very funny show with, like, you know, oh my God, they start sending texts back in time and things, the present starts changing on them, and it's sometimes with hilarious consequences. One character changes genders, which is awesome. It's an anime. But it's handled really, really well, and about halfway through the show gets really dark and emotional as the cost of what they're doing to time starts coming due. And so not only is it incredibly challenging to write a show like that takes such a tonal shift in the writing style, but then that you have to act later. And when we're writing, there's a great period of overlap between the writing and recording. Like I said, usually only the first 6 episodes are done. The scripts, the first 6 episodes are done only, you know, before we start recording, and then we record and write at the same time until the show's done. So we're only ever about 6 episodes ahead of what's being recorded, writers are. And, excuse me, talking about SteinsGate gets me kind of, raises my hackles and gets me kind of emotional because Okabe, the main character, is a very, very unique character. He starts off being this really funny, arrogant, over-the-top kind of Don Quixote-like character. You know, he's pretending to be the mad scientist and who's going to take over the world, and he's really just a misfit, and you understand very quickly that that's just his coping mechanism for dealing with the world he doesn't quite know how to make sense of, and all of his friends are his friends because they love just watching him wear himself